The hook. The night shift on the outer station was always quiet. Too quiet, some would say. The alien girl sat alone in the small control room, her eyes fixed on the glowing radar screen. The station drifted at the edge of her people's territory. A forgotten place, a place where nothing ever happened. She had done this job for years, scanning the void, listening to empty static. Most nights, the radar showed only silence, cold rocks, drifting debris, and the endless emptiness of space. Her people believed nothing lived out here anymore, not for a long time. But tonight was different. A faint blip appeared on her screen. At first, she thought it was a glitch, another false signal. She adjusted the scanners, tapped the console, but the blip stayed. Her brow furrowed, her hands trembled. The signal was faint, almost hidden, but it was moving, not drifting like a rock, not random like debris. It had direction, purpose, intent. Her heart quickened. She leaned closer, adjusting the frequency. The blip grew sharper, clearer. Her stomach twisted as she read the data, the ship's design, its energy signature. It matched something from old records, something she had been told all her life was impossible, something her teachers had laughed about when she asked questions, something her people called nothing more than a myth. Her eyes widened, her voice broke in a whisper. No, it cannot be. The radar identified the vessel as human. Human. The word burned in her mind. Humans were stories, old warnings told to children. They were said to have been fierce and unstoppable, conquerors of stars, but also reckless, dangerous, a threat to all other species. Her people's records claimed they had vanished centuries ago, destroyed by their own wars, extinct, gone. She swallowed hard, staring at the blinking light on the screen. It pulsed slowly, calmly, like a heartbeat, closer and closer. Every part of her training told her it was impossible. Every story told her this was only legend, yet her screen did not lie. Her hands shook as she tried to steady the console. She ran the scan again, double, then triple. Each time the result came back the same. Human ship detected. Her chest tightened, her breath shallow. She felt both fear and awe. If this was true, if the radar was not broken, then everything she had been taught was a lie. The ship was still distant, but it was moving closer to her station, not fast, not with aggression, slow, steady, deliberate. It was as if it wanted to be seen. The girl's mind raced. Should she call command? Should she send a warning? What if no one believed her? They would laugh at her, punish her for false alarms. No one believed in humans anymore. And yet, here it was, a single blip on a lonely radar screen, carrying the weight of legends. Her people thought humans were gone, but the signal told another story. She pressed her palm against the glass of the screen, as if touching it would make it less unreal. Her voice cracked again. A human ship. Here. Memories of childhood tales filled her mind. Stories of humans who stood against impossible odds. Stories of humans who terrified empires with their will to fight. Stories that always ended the same. Humans destroyed themselves, consumed by their own fire. But what if those stories were wrong? Her hands trembled harder. The radar beeped again, sharper, louder. The signal was growing stronger. The ship was heading directly toward her station. She bit her lip, panic rising. If it truly was human, what did they want? Revenge? War? Or something else entirely? She stared at the screen, unable to look away. The steady pulse of the radar was like a drumbeat in her chest. Each flash of light a reminder that the impossible was becoming real. Her fear grew, but so did her curiosity. For all her life she had wanted something more than silence. And now silence was gone, replaced by the return of a legend. The station around her hummed quietly. The air vents sighed, the lights flickered softly. It all felt too fragile, too small to face what was coming. She was just one girl, one officer on a forgotten outpost, and yet she was the first to see it, the first to know. Her voice came in a whisper, filled with disbelief and wonder. They were never extinct. They were waiting. The blip grew larger, clearer, and then, Her console flickered. For a second, static filled the screen. A new signal broke through, not just radar, but transmission. Her blood ran cold. Her heart froze. The signal wasn't random. It was communication. A voice was trying to speak. A human voice. Doubt and fear. The console flickered again. Static rolled across the screen, sharp and broken. The alien girl leaned forward, her hands trembling over the controls. Her chest felt tight, her heart racing in her throat. The signal repeated. Unknown vessel detected. Human signature confirmed. Her stomach twisted. It couldn't be true. It couldn't. She shook her head, whispering to herself, "No, impossible. They are gone. They were gone long before I was born." Her fingers tapped across the panel as she reran the diagnostics. Once, twice, 3 times. Each time the computer returned the same answer. The ship's energy pattern matched old human designs stored in restricted archives. Her eyes darted to the dusty records on her screen. Shapes of ships from ancient war reports filled her display, and the match was near perfect. Her throat went dry. Her people had laughed at the old tales. Humans were bedtime monsters, myths told to scare children or to glorify ancient victories. But now, those myths had a pulse on her radar, real, alive, and moving closer. She bit her lip hard enough to taste blood. Maybe the computer was malfunctioning. Yes, that had to be it. The station was old, its systems outdated, a ghost signal, an echo from the past. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Her shaking hands pressed another series of commands. The screen flickered, the signal held steady. The same ship, the same human pattern. Her blood felt like ice. She leaned back in her chair, pressing her hands over her face. If this was real, if a human ship truly approached, what would it mean? Her people had lived for centuries believing humans were extinct. Entire generations had grown without ever seeing one, and now she, a simple scout officer, was staring at proof that the galaxy had been wrong all along. Fear prickled down her spine. She thought of the stories she had heard in whispers. Stories not told to children but to soldiers. Tales of humans who fought until the last breath, who destroyed entire fleets, not with numbers but with willpower. Her people's elders called them reckless, savage, a danger to themselves and others. But the way they told the stories, there was always a trace of respect, as if even in death, humanity had left a scar too deep to forget. The girl shivered. If the ship outside truly carried humans, then the galaxy was about to change, and she would be the first to know, the first to face them. Her hand hovered over the comms button. She should report this, send the signal to command. But what if they didn't believe her? What if they thought she was mad, or worse, lying? Her people did not forgive mistakes. If she raised a false alarm, her career would end. She would be shamed, cast aside, a fool who cried of ghosts. And yet if she stayed silent, the ship would arrive without warning. If humans truly were alive, the cost of her silence could be far worse. Her breathing grew shallow. The weight of choice pressed on her like stone. She was just one girl on one forgotten station. But tonight the galaxy seemed to rest on her shoulders. The console beeped again, sharper this time. Her eyes darted to the screen. The human ship was closer now. Its movement was deliberate, not random. It wasn't passing by. It was coming straight for her station. Her skin crawled. The old story screamed in her mind. Humans do not turn away. Humans always come straight for you. Her people had told those stories with fear, with awe, with warnings, and now she was living them. She slammed her hand against the console, her voice shaking. Why now? Why here? The radar pulse grew louder. The signal filled the room with its steady beat. Beep, beep, beep. Each sound echoed in her chest, each one a reminder that she was running out of time. She pulled it up the external feed. At first there was only smoke and starlight. Then, through the haze, she saw a shadow, a shape moving in the distance, growing larger. Her breath caught. It was sleek, alien to her people's design, but familiar from old reports. A human ship, alive, real, undeniable. Her knees weakened, her voice a broken whisper. They exist. All this time, they exist. Fear clawed at her chest. If humans had returned, what did they want? Her people claimed humans were violent, uncontrollable, unwilling to bow to any empire. If those stories were true, then their return could mean war, another war her people were not ready to face. Her hand hovered again over the comms. She wanted to call for help, but her fingers froze. Something inside her told her this moment was too fragile, too important to share just yet. She had to see for herself before the galaxy came crashing down. The console flickered once more. A new signal appeared. Transmission incoming. Static hissed. Then a faint voice broke through. Words in an old human language, garbled but clear enough to chill her bones. Her blood froze, her heart thundering in her chest. It was not a ghost, not an echo, not a myth. It was real. A human voice. Her hands trembled as she reached for the receiver. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to hide. But another voice inside whispered, "Listen." Her throat dry. She leaned forward. The voice repeated through the static, stronger this time. "This is the vessel Iron Resolve. We come in peace. Is anyone there?" The girl's eyes widened. Peace? The humans of legend were not supposed to speak of peace. They were supposed to be war, fury, destruction. And yet here was a voice, calm and steady, reaching out to her. Her breath came fast, her mind racing. Every fear, every doubt tangled inside her. Should she answer? Should she speak to the myth made real? Her finger hovered above the comm switch. Her whole body trembled. One choice could change her life. Change her people, change the galaxy. Her voice cracked in a whisper. Humans. They are real. The radar beeped again, louder than ever. The transmission waited. The voice repeated. We come in peace. Is anyone there? She swallowed hard, frozen in place. The galaxy had given her a choice, and she was terrified to make it. There it was, the human ship. Massive and scarred, its hull marked with old battles, but its engines burned bright, steady and strong. It was not a ghost. It was alive. The girl's knees felt weak. She whispered to herself, they survived. Her people had been wrong. The galaxy had been wrong. Humans were not extinct. They had endured, hiding, waiting, and now they had returned. The console beeped sharply, pulling her back. Another signal. This time not just a voice, a handshake code, an invitation to connect. They wanted communication. Her claws hovered over the control, her throat dry, her breath shaky. If she accepted, she would be the first of her kind to speak to humans in centuries. Her people would call her reckless, maybe even a traitor. But if she refused, she might lose the chance to learn the truth. She closed her eyes for a moment. Her thoughts swirled with fear and wonder. But then she remembered the calm voice, the words that had repeated, "We come in peace." Her heart steadied. Maybe, just maybe, this was not the end. Maybe it was a beginning. She opened her eyes, her hand trembling but firm as it lowered to the control. Her finger pressed against the switch. The channel opened. Static filling the room. For the first time in her life, she spoke into the void. Her voice cracked, weak but clear. "This is Outpost Delta 7, she whispered. Her breath shook as she said the next words. Humans. Is it really you? The static hissed, then cleared. The human voice returned, calm and steady. Yes, it said. And in that single word, the galaxy changed forever. First contact, the static cleared, and the voice came again, calm and steady. Yes, this is the vessel Iron Resolve, and we are human. The alien girl froze, her claws tightening against the console. Her whole body trembled, her throat locked. She had hoped the signal would break, that the words would vanish back into myth, but they didn't. They were real. She leaned forward, her voice shaking. "This is Outpost Delta 7, she whispered. Her breath hitched. "Humans, you were supposed to be extinct." There was silence for a moment. Only the low hum of the ship's engines came through the transmission. Then the human voice returned, deeper now, almost amused. Extinct? That's what they told you? The girl swallowed hard. Her people had sworn it was truth. Humans destroyed themselves long ago, yet here she was, speaking to one. Her mind spun. Her training screamed at her to cut the transmission, but her curiosity held her in place, stronger than her fear. Yes, she stammered. My people, we were taught you burned yourselves out, that you were gone forever. The voice on the other end gave a low laugh. Gone? No, the human said. We've always been here, watching, waiting, surviving. Her heart skipped a beat. If that was true, then humanity hadn't been lost. They had been silent, hiding. The thought made her skin crawl. If they had endured all this time, what else had they hidden? Her voice came out small, hesitant. Why show yourselves now? Why come here? There was a pause. When the human spoke again, his tone was serious, almost heavy. Because the galaxy has forgotten what we are, and it's time they remembered. The girl's breath caught. His words were not a threat, not yet, but they carried weight. They carried the sound of something powerful, something unstoppable. Her eyes darted back to the radar screen. The human ship loomed closer now, its outline filling the display. Scarred and battered, but alive. Its engines burned bright. This was no ghost, no relic. It was a predator returning to the stars, she whispered under her breath. My people will not believe this. The voice on the comms softened. They will, the human said. They'll have no choice when they see us with their own eyes. The girl's claws tapped nervously against the console. She wanted to end the transmission, to run, but another part of her, a deeper, braver part, wanted to know more. She steadied her voice. What? What happened to you? Why did you vanish? For a moment, only silence. Then the human spoke, slower now. We did not vanish, he said. We endured. We bled. We hid where the galaxy could not find us. They called us myths because it was easier than admitting they feared us. The girl shivered. Her people had told her humans were reckless, violent, doomed to destroy themselves. But this voice spoke not of doom, but of survival. A survival so deep, it had turned them into legends. Her voice came softer now, almost reverent. So the stories were lies? Not lies, the human said. Stories twisted by those who wanted to forget us, or who wanted you to fear us. There's truth in them, yes. Humans do fight. We fight harder than most, but that is not all we are. The girl sat back in her chair, her chest heavy with confusion. Everything she had believed about her people's history was cracking apart. If the humans had survived, if they had been watching all along, what else had been hidden from her? She whispered, barely audible. What do you want from us? The reply came steady, without hesitation. We want nothing, the human said. Except this. Remember, we are not gone. And when the galaxy tests us, when it pushes too far, humanity will stand again. The girl's eyes widened. It wasn't a demand. It wasn't conquest. It was a warning, a promise. Her hands trembled as she clutched the console. She was terrified, but also fascinated. The humans of myth were alive, and she was the first to hear their voice. She didn't know if she should be afraid of them or afraid of what her own people would do when they learned the truth. The transmission fell quiet, the hum of the ship filling the silence. Her chest rose and fell quickly, her breath ragged. Finally, she found her voice again. Why tell me this? She asked. Why not reveal yourselves to my leaders, to the whole galaxy? The human chuckled softly. Because leaders lie, he said simply. But people see truth, and you will carry it with you now, whether you want to or not. Her throat tightened. He was right. She could never go back to believing humans were gone. She had seen their ship, heard their voice. The truth was inside her now, and it would spread. Her radar beeped again. Closer, closer. The iron resolve was almost upon her station. Her fear spiked again. Would they attack? Would they board? But the human voice came one last time, calm and final. Do not fear us. Outpost Delta S. Even, not tonight. We only came to remind the stars of something they forgot. Humans are still here. The transmission cut. The radar blinked once more, and then the ship turned, its engines flared, and it drifted back into the darkness of space, gone as suddenly as it had come. The girl stared at the empty screen, her chest trembling with every breath, her world, her beliefs, her history, shattered. She whispered to herself, "They're back, and nothing will ever be the same." The girl shivered. Her eyes blurred with tears she hadn't noticed forming. For the first time, she understood what the legends really meant. Humans were not monsters, not myths. They were something far more dangerous. They were hope, and hope was harder to kill than any army. Her voice broke, weak but honest. You fight not just for yourselves, do you?" The human was silent for a moment, then his answer came low, steady, unshakable. "No. We fight for each other. We fight for anyone who stands alone. That's why you're hearing my voice now." Her throat closed. Her hands shook. She was alone here on this forgotten station, alone until tonight. And now, across the stars, a human told her she wasn't. Her chest ached. She whispered, almost pleading, "Why me? Why show yourselves to me?" The reply came without hesitation. "Because you were listening." Her breath caught. Her people would have ignored the signal, dismissed it as static, but she had listened. She had looked closer. She had chosen to believe. And for that, she had become the first in centuries to speak to a human. The console pulsed again, the radar still tracking the human ship. Its engines glowed faintly as it drifted in the darkness. The girl pressed her palm against the glass screen, her voice soft. "You were never gone." The human's voice came one last time. "No," he said. "We were never gone. We were waiting. And now, we're ready." The transmission ended. The radar continued to blink. The ship remained, silent but present, a shadow in the dark. The girl sat frozen in her chair, her chest heavy, her mind alive. Everything she thought she knew was broken, replaced with a truth her people had long denied. Humans were not extinct. They were not myths. They were survivors. And in that moment, she understood why the galaxy had feared them, not because of strength alone, but because they revealed something every empire wanted to bury, that even in the darkest night, humanity would always find a way to rise. Her voice cracked into the silence. "They're back. And the galaxy will never be the same." Tension turns to respect. The radar still pulsed with the steady heartbeat of the human ship. The alien girl sat frozen, her claws pressed hard into the metal of her console. Her mind was a storm of fear, wonder, and disbelief. She could not deny what she had heard, what she had seen. The humans were real, alive and standing once more in the stars. Her chest rose and fell in quick breaths. She thought of her training, of the warnings drilled into her since childhood. Humans are chaos, they said. Humans are reckless, dangerous, unpredictable. Yet the voice she had heard was calm, steady, almost kind. It was nothing like the monsters she had been taught to fear. The console flickered again. Her heart skipped as another signal came through. Not just static this time. Video. Her claws shook as she accepted the feed. The screen cleared and she gasped. A human appeared, broad-shouldered, scarred, his face lined with age and battles long past. Yet his eyes burned bright, alive, filled with strength. He wore no crown, no medals, no armor of a conqueror, just a simple uniform, dark and worn. And still he looked more commanding than any leader she had ever seen. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence felt heavy, thick with meaning. The girl's voice finally broke. trembling. You are real." The human gave a faint smile, though it was not unkind. "Real enough," he said. "And so are you. Tell me, child of Delta 7, what do you see when you look at us?" Her throat tightened. The weight of the question pressed against her like stone. Her people would want her to say danger, threat, monster, but as she stared at the human's eyes, those words felt wrong. She whispered instead, "I see. Survival." The man's smile deepened, faint but approving. "Then you see clearly," he said. "That is what we are, survivors." Her heart thudded harder, something in his viscera. Ois carried pride, but also sorrow. He had lived through things she could not imagine, things her people had buried beneath lies. The girl swallowed hard, her voice low. "My people. They told us you were gone. They said you destroyed yourselves, that you were only a story." The human's eyes narrowed slightly. "Stories," he said, almost with a chuckle. "Funny how stories change when the powerful tell them. They wanted you to believe we were gone, because the idea of us frightened them more than the truth." Her claws tapped nervously against the console. She whispered, "Then why return now? Why speak to me?" The man leaned closer, his gaze sharp and piercing. "To remind the galaxy of what it forgot," he said. "And because we watch not just the powerful, but the ordinary. You are the first who listened, and so the truth comes to you." Her chest tightened. She had thought herself small, unimportant, just another scout on a forgotten outpost. But this man spoke to her as if her choice mattered, as if she carried weight enough to change the galaxy. Her voice cracked. You could destroy us if you wished." The human did not flinch. "We could," he said simply. "But we won't. Not unless we must. That is what makes us dangerous. Not our weapons, but our will. We do not fight for conquest. We fight because no one should stand alone, not even you." Her breath hitched, her eyes stung with tears. The words cut through every fear she had. It wasn't cruelty she heard. It was conviction, a kind of strength she had never known. The silence stretched again, but this time it felt different. Not heavy with fear, but filled with something she couldn't name, respect. She realized then that the human was watching her, not with cruelty, not with arrogance, but with care. He was measuring her reaction, weighing her response, as if this was a test, and she was the only one who could pass it. Her claws trembled against the console. She straightened in her chair, wiping the fear from her face. Her voice came steady for the first time since the signal began. "Then hear me. I believe you." The human nodded slowly. "That is all we asked," he said. "You have seen us. You will remember, and when the time comes, you will speak, not as a servant of your leaders, not as a child of your empire, but as someone who saw the truth with her own eyes." The girl's chest swelled, a strange fire rising in her heart. It frightened her, but it also made her strong. She realized she no longer feared him. Not truly. She respected him, and through that respect, she found courage. Her voice came soft but firm. "My people will not believe me." The human's answer came calm, almost gentle. "Perhaps not at first, but truth spreads. Once spoken, it cannot be silenced, and one day, when they face us again, they will remember the words you carried." Her claws pressed harder against the console. Her fear was still there, but it had changed. It was no longer fear of humans. It was fear of what would happen when her people tried to deny them, because she knew now they would fail. She whispered, almost reverent, "You are not myths. You are warnings." The human's eyes burned brighter. "No," he said, his voice like steel. "We are promises." The screen flickered. The transmission ended once more. The ship remained on her radar for only a few moments longer. Then it turned, engines flaring, and vanished back into the dark, the Gie. Rel sat frozen, her breath ragged. Her fear had not vanished, but something greater had taken its place. Respect, not the kind forced by empire or command, but respect earned, carved into her heart by truth. She pressed a hand to her chest, her voice soft. They chose me. They trusted me. And as she stared into the empty void where the human ship had been, she realized the galaxy had changed forever. Not because humans returned with fire and war, but because they returned with truth. And truth was more dangerous than any weapon. The darker truth. The station was quiet again. The alien girl sat in the dim glow of her console, the silence pressing against her chest. The human ship had vanished into the dark, leaving only a faint echo on her radar. Yet she knew she would never forget what she had seen, what she had heard. Her claws trembled against the panel as she replayed the last words. "We are promises." They haunted her, sharp and heavy. What promise did they mean? What truth had they not yet spoken? As if in answer, the console flickered one final time. A secure transmission opened by itself. Her breath caught. This wasn't her doing. It was them, the humans, reaching out once more. The screen lit up. The same man appeared, the human commander, his scarred face calm but solemn. His eyes burned with a weight that felt heavier than stars. "This will be the last time you hear us tonight," he said. "But before we leave, you must know the truth your people never told you." The girl leaned forward, her voice barely a whisper. "What truth?" The man's gaze sharpened. "Your people say we destroyed ourselves," he said. "That is not true. We did not vanish because of war alone. We vanished because the galaxy feared us, and together they tried to erase us." Her eyes widened, her breath froze. "Tried to erase you?" "Yes," the human said. "Your ancestors and many others joined together. They called us reckless, dangerous, uncontrollable. They could not bend us to their rule, so they chose another path. They hunted us, burned our colonies, destroyed our fleets. They thought they ended us, but they were wrong." The girl's claws dug into the console, her chest burning. She had been taught humans collapsed under their own chaos, but now she saw the darker truth. It had been murder, not accident, extermination, not extinction. Her voice cracked. "My people, they lied." The human nodded slowly. "Miesam pamtsa." Just your people. Many, perhaps all, they buried the truth under stories of human failure. But remember this, we did not fall. We endured. We hid in the places they would not go, the places too harsh for their kind, and we waited. The girl's throat ached, her eyes wet. She could not look away. Her people had not been innocent. They had tried to wipe out an entire species, and now that species had returned. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Why tell me this? Why show me what the galaxy has hidden?" The man leaned closer, his eyes burning brighter. "Because one day, the truth must be spoken, and it will not come from leaders. It will come from voices like yours, from those who saw us and understood. Fear us if you must, but do not forget us." Her chest heaved, fear, sorrow, awe, all tangled inside her. She felt small, smaller than she had ever felt before, yet in that smallness, she felt chosen. She was the first to know. The first to hear the truth humans had carried in silence for centuries. The human's voice grew softer, almost mournful. "We did not survive without cost," he said. "We lost worlds, families, generations. We carry scars the galaxy will never see, but those scars made us what we are now, unbreakable. And that is the darker truth. You cannot kill us. You can only make us stronger." The girl's heart pounded. She understood now why her people feared them, not because they were violent, but because they could not be erased. They would always rise again. Her voice came weak, trembling. "What happens now?" The human looked past her, his gaze heavy as if seeing not her, but the stars beyond. "Now," he said, "now we wait, as we always have, until the galaxy dares to test us again. And when that day comes, humanity will answer, not with silence, not with myth, but with fire." The girl shivered. His words were not a threat, not exactly. They were a promise a promise her people could not ignore. The transmission began to fade, the image of the scarred commander dissolving into static. His voice lingered for a final moment. "Remember this night, child of Delta 7. Remember who we are, and when they ask you what you saw, tell them the truth. Humans are not gone. Humans are waiting." The screen went dark. The radar blinked one last time, then cleared. The ship was gone, swallowed by the endless void. The girl sat alone, the silence heavier than ever. Her claws trembled against the console. Her chest ached. Her people would demand reports. Her leaders would demand answers. But what would she tell them? That the myths lived, that the legends walked once more among the stars, that the darkest truth was not human extinction, but survival? She leaned back, staring into the void beyond her station window. For the first time in her life, she felt the full weight of history pressing down. The galaxy was not what she had been taught. It was stranger, darker, more alive. Her voice cracked in the silence, soft but certain. "They will not believe me, but they will learn." Her eyes burned as she whispered the final words. "They are not extinct. They are the future." And with that, the alien girl realized her world and the galaxy itself would never be the same again.